Welcome to The Disruption Is Now. Join us on this enlightening journey as we explore how AI is impacting our jobs, careers, lives, and the human experience. Each episode, host Greg Matusky will converse with visionaries and innovators at the forefront of AI, diving into its challenges, opportunities, and impact. So buckle up as we venture into the heart of disruption, and together, let's unfold the future.
Well, we're back at HumanX, and it's been quite a show. This is our last podcast of the 2026 HumanX show, and it's only appropriate that I have a returning guest. Rasmus Holst is the CEO of Zensi, a HR application for corporations. We talked last year, and much has happened since there. Give me the full update, Rasmus.
The full update. I mean, first and foremost, happy to be back. And last year we had Randy on as well, one of our customers
From
who was
Penske,
there.
yep.
And so that was where we were at, and we just launched like the full portfolio. So obviously there's no HumanX without AI. So since last year, obviously both our learning, our performance and engagement platforms have all come out as agentic, which we're really happy about. And the interesting thing is how people start to use these as like coaches and helpers in their everyday life. So since last year, where it was like infancy of using AI, 60% of our end users are now using AI functionality in some shape or form to build their careers, understanding how they do performance reviews, all of those kind of things.
Let's go back to the beginning, because some of our listeners may not know what Zensi is. So let's start with what it is, what it's become, and where we're going. How's that? Explain exactly what it is for the enterprise right now.
Yeah, so originally it was a learning company. Last time when we spoke, we were at the inflection point where we went from a single product company to a human success company. And human success to us is learning, performance, and engagement management. And on top of that, we've then tried to say most organizations, when they look at HR data, it's always a lagging indicator. It's always who's left the company, and you can't really do anything about it. So it was about the human success score, which we launched last year. Telling you how you're doing it, how you're going to be doing as a business going forward. And for the listeners who weren't lucky enough to listen to that last year, it was a riff over how Strava and Garmin are actually predicting your end time as a runner by how you show up, whether you do your training and whether you hit your key results along the way, and thereby you're able to tell your future state. And we wanted to bring that to businesses, and all that's come to fruition. So that's now out in the market. That's out being operational. So now it's about having organizations transition from being reactive to being proactive.
So now you've agentified Zensi. Tell us about that, the journey there, and how it's been going and what it enables end users to do.
So first and foremost, for your listeners, we built everything on Microsoft. So we took the decision to build everything on Copilot and the whole stack that Microsoft produces. So the transition,
perfect for the enterprise.
Perfect for the enterprise, and actually perfect for the technology transition. At the point we talked last time, you could go, hey, I don't know which way this is going to go, but it's turned out to be a really great decision in terms of how quickly you can transition your SaaS application to agentic. It's basically the same architecture. It's a different interface, and we've almost come to the point where we're looking at it as when everyone had a desktop computer and it turned to mobile. You felt like you wrote a different application, but it was just a different interface. And now you can actually operate our entire platform from a Copilot type interface, just prompting it and asking, what's my engagement score this week? Who in my team checked in with bad news or good news? Who got the most kudos and all of that? You can do that, either click around in your old interface or actually just ask Copilot for
so
analysis
it's all
of it.
within the behavior we're all used to because of ChatGPT. Now it's applied to this with natural language. You can just talk to the platform and get all kinds of answers.
True. And the interesting part about being part of the Microsoft ecosystem is obviously that it's tied to all of your other data. So it actually has context around your work and where work is being done. And because we actually, as an application, we undergo the same level of certification as anything inside of Microsoft. That's why we're a top tier partner. But that means
tell me about that interplay with regard to the HR function. For instance, can you prompt it to show you what function has the highest turnover, or who stayed the longest in what department. What can you do with that?
I think more importantly, what you can do is, for instance, if you have all of your strategy documents inside of the Microsoft ecosystem and all of your discussions around that, you can actually take that, apply that to, for instance, your OKR setting. So instead of you and me sitting down and you're asking me, what do you want to do this year, Rasmus? We actually take the strategy plan from the CEO, we put that into the system. It actually suggests, in order for our department, let's imagine we're engineering, for us to help the company overall goals of hitting this revenue number and this part of product and all of that, it actually can measure, hey, is the key result we're setting for Rasmus, is that actually in line with what the CEO wanted to have out of the company? And thereby, I think you get a much tighter alignment. And because we're inside the Microsoft ecosystem, that data everyone's comfortable giving to our application because it's already under the same security, privacy, all of those types of things.
Previously, the only way to do that, I guess, would be custom development. Is that in consulting and customization and everything that goes along with it? So now you can align the entire organization. So if your sales force is totally aligned with what the CEO set as your growth strategy and your growth mission and targets, and it works all the way through the corporation.
Yeah, and we even to the point where if people set personal goals, we actually check that against the strategy plan and come back and say, hey, I like what you're doing here, but that's probably not the way we're heading. If somebody wants to, let's just for a stupid example, say somebody puts in they want to have cooking classes, you can actually go in and say, that's not the way we're heading. You need to take these AI courses or suggest the journey that they should be on if they're suggesting something that doesn't align with the business.
That's brilliant, Rasmus. It really is. I think for organizations, I know I have a small organization. I have 130 people, and I struggle with that very thing. Yeah. Every year at budgeting, we set goals for the next year, but how do we communicate that all the way down? And it's usually just me hammering at home, which isn't the most efficient.
It's been the same for me.
Yeah, efficient or effective. So actually aligning it through the software and showing each individual employee how they can contribute, I think has tremendous benefits with regard to reaching your objective, but also building self-esteem and a better work-life balance because people know what's expected of them, and they also then know when they achieve it, which can only be better for the worker.
And what we also allow with the software is actually to allow everyone to, like you're saying about the self-confidence and all of that, we actually allow people to give kudos into, and we can all see each other's OKRs. So if you just knocked it out of the park and you delivered the project you were supposed to a week before or anything like that, or you went over and above, everyone can see that. They can just go, Greg, great job, great job. I always try to preach to our organization that as we're in HR, you have to show up and be your own best case study. You can't just skimp on things. And we actually, at a 200 people organization, we run at around 11,000 kudos a year. And think about that. It's free. And regardless of whether it's me, I even have an organization where people feel comfortable giving the CEO a kudos. And I'm still like, every time it comes through, I'm like sitting there with a little smile going, hey, they recognized me. I'm the CEO. I'm still a human. I still go, they noticed me.
For an entrepreneur, that's very important because I find entrepreneurs are so fixated on the prize, on the end game, that they just don't encourage and compliment people enough so that they can perform. I also think in the world of AI, some of the behavioral change in management that has to take place is based on that very thing. And that is that you create an atmosphere where people can feel confident to celebrate their victories as they work alongside agents or AI apps or whatever. And if you don't do that, I think it's a big impediment to getting deployment and adoption throughout the enterprise. I know in my company, which I'm very proud, is a very agentified firm. We won last year the Public Relations Society of America Award for the most AI-enabled PR firm. And it started about 5 years ago, but I realized early that you had to create a couple things. One is a safe environment where people could feel secure in trying things and never, ever be discredited for having a failure. That was one. Secondly, a sharing environment, because there is no textbook on AI.
No.
You got to learn it from other people, like I did. I learned it by going on X and following thought leaders, and some of them took pity on me and actually, when I would DM them questions, would answer them, which really accelerated my learning. So I think that's a really important part to the AI mission. I know in my world, to get buy-in, I never talk about productivity or efficiency because that's about me. I always talk about building their career skills to assure that they'll be part of that 50% of the white-collar workforce that makes it over the chasm and has a successful career.
Yep.
And that seems to resonate with people when I say this is not intended to delete jobs. It's intended to make you more competent by mastering AI and being viable in the employment marketplace. Look, I always tell them, I love you to stay here the rest of your life, but I'm a pragmatist. And no matter where you go, I want you to leave here and say, I'm more valuable.
And
for
I
what
think
you
that's
did.
a really strong message as any CEO should pick up from you. And also for us, the accountability still sits with people. I mean, we're also partially underneath all of this. There's a skills platform. So in all days, you've tried to map out this corporate, how do we map skills? What skills do we need and all of that? And that's undergoing such a change because skills could actually be performed by agents. I still solemnly believe that accountability is performed by human beings.
Yeah.
And we still, in everything we do here, some of the agents are proficient that they are like a 20-year professional in that field. But the first versions of those agents will also be like junior people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they need the same level of supervision as if you had an intern or somebody
Absolutely.
just on their first job, because it still needs to learn. So even if we agentify everything and we say, hey, the whole world could run on agency, there's still this notion of there are junior employees or junior skills, and there are also senior and senior skills. And I still think that regardless of where you get to with that, accountability is still a human thing.
Absolutely. I always tell my people that imagine you're an agent being a junior associate who's really smart and overly eager.
Yeah.
So they make mistakes, right? But you can't punish them for making mistakes because they're so eager to please you. So don't fall for the pleasing, right? Make sure you check everything and make sure you go over it and correct it so that it can learn, just like you would a junior associate. And in that process, I find my people become better communicators because most of the misunderstanding between human and agents comes from the human who doesn't realize the real depth of the instructions that they're giving, right?
Yeah.
So I recently wrote a skill for an agent, and it just didn't come back right. And it didn't come back right because I forgot to put around it all the parameters of how you find a blur. I call them blurred stories. Those are under the radar news stories that could gain traction in the next 3 weeks, right? It just tried to please me and come back with ideas, but none of them really fulfilled that. When I told it to go to really bizarre sites like Polymarket and see who's betting against anything, any kind of indication, then it finally got it. It's looking for probability. It's looking what would be the chances of this story breaking big and we could get in first. And just by putting that harness on it, every day at 6 a.m. now, it delivers a blurred story to my desktop on AI, something that's happening and could be real big tomorrow. But anyway, I want to go into your book. I want to learn about your book. Tell us about it.
No, so as you said, like, I think if you take HR leaders right now, they're obviously trying to define what are they going to become in the future. So I don't think we can answer all of those questions, but I do think that there are some things that HR leaders can pick up and at least confidently go out and change the way they see their role. I think it starts with just instead of being reactive on everything, they actually need to be proactive on things that are going to happen in the future. So obviously, it's a play on how we've thought the human success score as a future score for how an organization will perform. But more importantly, one of the asks to HR leaders is you need to align yourself with a new set of people. And one of the suggestions we have is that you form a triumvirate of the CFO office, the HR office, and the CTO office. There are not so many places where those three actually meet. But if you think about how we're going to plan in the future, the CHRO, I mean, if you stereotype everyone, the CTO has the least amount of people skills usually, and the HR typically has the least amount of tech skills, and the CFO sits kind of in the middle and cares about the money. But those three things are the things you need to make absolutely work in a future environment. Because the way we thought about writing the book was not to write a textbook. This is what you need to be doing. This is what you need to be doing. This is what you need to be doing. We actually wrote it as a fable about a CEO who will get the same pressures every CEO today. How do you bring down cost and everyone's seen like the lovables who have like a $2, $3, $5 million ARR per FTE, and then they come to me as a SaaS company with 200 people, and I go, I can never do that. So we're all under that pressure to find that new way. And the way we take the CEO through the journey is, how do you set up an organization? How do you set up a decision organ that can actually do that? How do you set up measuring frameworks for how you can do that? And how do you actually implement a vibe coding leadership? Because it doesn't help that if the organization, especially us tech organizations, we can build 52 products in a year, and then we have the annual appraisal at the end of the year. And we can't do that to the people, because then they're going, hey, but... And appraisals are always like, you don't remember anything that happened only the last 3 months, right?
I love your trilogy, and I'll tell you why. In my own small world, right, I do a lot of the agent building myself.
Yeah.
Because one thing, it's fun. Secondly, I know the industry, right? So I know I'm not just doing shiny new things. I'm doing things that actually can be used by people in the public relations agency that I own. So I do it. And then, though, the second leg of that is my tech.
Yeah.
Because I have to know how these agents work. I have to know how to distribute information. I have to know how to build a skill. Yeah. I have to know the difference between their short-term and long-term memory, right? Because all this is important to how I structure the agent. So I would say I'm the marketing lead of the company, right? As the CEO. I am I work with the tech in between, and sometimes I actually look up, and my tech expert is my son, who's an AI developer, has an AI firm, and we looked up the other day. We were working together up in Boston in a shared workspace, and we looked up and we go, can you believe we're actually working together? Like, I've come up in PR, you're a coder, MBA coder, that our worlds should never meet, and here we are together, right, aligning. Could this be done? Oh, he'll go, Dad, it'll be better if you do it this way, easier to share, it won't break. And then the CFO, that's my role too, is, how do we optimize this so that our spend is reasonable? How are we going to do the skills and the asks so that we're not spending $100,000 a month on tokens, which when you enable 20 teams to use agents, you could easily run up a quick tab. So I love your trilogy. I think it's right on mark.
And you get some interesting results, because it's obviously something we've tried ourselves. So in a completely different spin-off of this idea, we created the same trilogy inside of the company. And all of a sudden, it's actually our VP Finance who is not our CFO, who's the person representing on that board, and then it's our CTO and the Chief Human Success Officer. She then goes back to the team and goes, why aren't we building an agentic version of our huge data cube for all of our financial data? And she sits down with the CTO, and those two, without me asking for it or the CFO asking for it, they actually start to design this. And obviously, again, coming back to Microsoft, we have access to a boatload of great technology. The two of them comes back to me and the CFO and goes, we will build an internal Sensei IQ. We will agentify the entire set of data, and we'll build these agents. So there's one for the CEO, so I have results early in the month and all kinds. And the CFO has a large set of data that comes out, but everything built on the same database with a boatload of different agentic outputs. They go to a conference hosted by Microsoft for who builds great innovation and all of that in front of a lot of Danish large-scale companies, and they actually come up and go, hey, do you sell what you're building there? And we go, no, that's just our internal like mechanism for making this more efficient and better. And now the two of them are like poster childs for being shipped around Europe with Microsoft.
That's so funny because I've had many agencies come to me and say, would you build our agentic services? And I'm like, hey, I don't do support, man. I'm not going to build that. It's a wholly different business. I know what it takes, but that's not what I do. I do public relations. I stick to my knitting, but they've seen the effect and they've wanted to see how you do it. But the tools are only half of it. It's really the people equation. It's change management that really needs to be driven home. It's training, right? It's having the right atmosphere. It's incentivizing people, and it's really making them feel as if this is enabling them to make a viable career, and it's not putting them out of work.
And I think that has to do with creating, like as you spoke about, the safe space. We have for the longest time had a weekly stand-up where everyone in the company can join, and everyone who's built anything could show up and demo it. And it's been such an interesting journey because we started with people who'd like written a party song.
Let me get a pencil. I'm going to steal that idea. Keep going.
No, but it's been really, really great because everyone showed up with stuff. Even the CEO comes up with things that I've built. And I think you and I are not too different because I'm actually a subject matter expert on a lot of stuff that I've learned across my career. And if I document some of that, I can create the first agent. I can't put it into production and scale it. But if I talk to my CTO, he can easily scale it. But if I write the framework, he goes, that's exactly what I need because I need the subject matter expert to define this. So first and foremost, I worked with Freddie, our CTO, on a few things that we built together. Again, it permutates into, we've created this safe environment, and then we needed to build a life cycle journey within the product that basically shows you where are you in accordance to your renewals, how is your usage, all of that. And we would build it so that the end users can actually, or the administrators of the platform can see it. Then the tech team goes and says, hey, we don't know what the logic should be, but they know that our customer experience team, they're technical enough that they could build it. So they went, why don't you try and build that with Lovable? We will create an interface that it shows up within the product, but we will never know all of the reasons why you built that and giving it the business logic. When you're done with the business logic, we will make sure it works scalable with the platform. And in 2 weeks, we went from having nothing to having a platform that now has a full set of life cycle journey. Now you should be pushing this to get higher adoption of the product. Now you should be doing this. Now your renewal is coming up. We should be talking about that. It's entirely built by non-coders, but enabled through our team of coders.
And isn't that the exciting part, that language is now the code? And
it
that
is.
I'm a communication specialist,
Yeah.
Rasmus. I mean, that's what I do. I've dedicated my life to helping clarify messages and bring better understanding to the world. When I first saw ChatGPT 2, right? This was before November of 2022, and we built a platform on it, which was rudimentary, which hallucinated like a drunken sailor, right? But I saw it, and here in the States, I was a quote from Ben Franklin, which I don't know if you know, he was one of our founding fathers.
I do.
And he said, what good is a new baby, right? When he saw an invention. And I was the same school. When I saw, even with how flawed it was in the beginning, I said, this is it. This is maybe what my career really pointed to. Maybe the reason I built this neural pathway to be able to write was to understand how these silicone neural pathways work. And the connections were just unbelievable between language, mathematics, computational linguistics, AI, machine learning, physics, you know, the physics of the world. This could be energy, right? And I had never really participated at that level. I had always taken somebody else's narrative and improved it, right? And amplified it. But for the first time, I was free to really bring many disciplines together, which was the nexus, which was the reason for this podcast, The Disruption Is Now, to interview people from around the world and gain from them a deeper understanding. And that's come with MIT, PhDs. It's come with business people like yourselves. It's come from thought leaders. And it's just, to me, it's a moment in time I'm 65 years old. There is nothing I have ever seen that has been like the moment in time I've seen in AI.
I would agree with this, and we both lived through like on-premise software, cloud software, mobile, what have you. This is different, but I'm also thinking that you must be in a situation where the clarity of voice that you have helps you immensely in building these things, because what I find with our teams is the more subject matter understanding they have, the clarity of prompt, the clarity of understanding that, hey, yes, this is what I wanted to do, but I also need to give it these boundaries and these inputs and all that. If you can structure that really quickly, the people who have clarity of voice and clarity of like tone,
Yeah,
I think it will be such a powerful tool in the future.
I think the greatest gift that has been bestowed upon me isn't just that I spent 35 years training my brain how to write.
Yeah.
And there are two neural pathways to that. One is the information, commas, active verbs, right? I mean, you get to a point where you just know this, right?
Yeah.
And then over here, it's the message, right?
Yeah.
And it's really hard for a lot of people to combine those. What stands in the way is the information. They get bogged down. How do I start this? How do I transition, right? And good writers really bring that together, right? When I saw ChatGPT for the first time, I realized for the first time I could, to other people when I trained them how to write, tell them to forget about the information.
Yeah.
It's going to put the right verb in. It's going to put the comma in the right place in the apostrophe. Focus on the end game.
Yeah.
What do you want to get out of this?
Yes.
And because I had experience trying to train people to write, it was so easy for me to communicate with the machine. I felt like I was a pianist who never saw a piano until I saw AI. I could do it so much faster. I could duplicate it so much more. And I could give the gift to other people all of a sudden that I had struggled so much to try to train people. And that's what you're doing in HR.
That was going to be my thank you for saying that, because that was when you were saying that, I was going that's exactly what's happening to me and to my company, and the way we want to show up for that community that we're part of, like you've shown up for the PR community and for your team. It's the same. We want to give them that ability to think about what frameworks are you using, what's the end point. And that's why initially when we were writing the book, we started out with, let's write it like a Porter's 5 Forces or something that becomes a textbook on how organizations look in the age of AI. Halfway through that, we went, nobody knows, but if we can explain to people what the endpoint actually should be, then everyone else can fill in the blanks, and they can use AI skills and AI information and all that to fill in the blanks. But if we can give everyone an endpoint, we can't tell everyone that it's the same journey. But as soon as you understand the endpoint, people will fill in the blanks along that way. And maybe in 5 years, there is a textbook to be written on it. But right now, I think it's about giving everyone a guiding framework as to how to get there.
Yeah. In my own world, I often tell people, if you look at any list of jobs that are really targeted for elimination due to AI, top of the list, PR and media, okay? Because it's language-based. And I always have a theory that there's a huge pent-up demand for highly customized communications. No one sees it. It's like Uber, right? Before Uber, there were about 3 billion personal rides in the world. After Uber, and we all thought that was the perfect supply-demand curve. After Uber, there's something like 16 billion personal rides. So there was all this demand that no one saw. And in my business, I believe there's such demand for customized, personalized service communications down to the individual. We see how bad communication is. We see a war going on right now, which I put on bad communications, right? Bombs falling, people dying, anything that could improve that. So the demand for communication is almost limitless. And when I tell my people that, I say, you may have more to do in the future. Think of HR. If everything stopped right now and all you did was create new solutions for your clients, if AI didn't advance any more than it is today, you still have a 5-10 year runway
You do.
of developing solutions. You're not going to get rid of anyone. You're just going to push them closer to the client and their needs, and further away from the tedium and the paperwork and the logistics. And if you can get closer to that client and then communicate it back to the machine, you're in for a big win.
And just what we did internally, so similar to you working with these things, one of the things we did was we thought about how we're serving our customers, and we took our 600 smallest customers and we can actually serve them better and more personalized if we apply AI. So we put a small team together. We had our tech team build agents that actually look at what the contracts they have, all of the support issues, all of those things. So every morning with this little team of 3 people show up, everything's answered for in the context of the customer. Actually, it becomes much more contextualized than one person having 100 customers. And the crazy thing is, if I take the business side of it and the outcome side of it, they've lifted renewal rates by 10 points, 10 percentage points over the course of 4 months, because they are actually they are much quicker in responding to the customer, so the customer gets a better experience. It's now becoming agentic, so if the customer has a problem, they can actually get a resolution immediately. All of the communication around their contractual renewals and all of that is always hyper-personalized. It's not, oh, it was Greg who was the CSM before, and now it's somebody else, and now it's come to me. Hey, Greg, what did you do with them last time? I don't remember. I have 3 other clients now. So all of that, we're just making the system learn. And actually, while the conventional wisdom would say this is going to be a worse experience for the customers, we're actually going, this is actually a better experience. So this is moving up through like our to our larger customers, just to ensure that the communication has this hyper-personalized communication underneath. But what we do is we still make people accountable for making sure that message that's pre-written doesn't have hallucinations, doesn't have everything like that. But they can easily deal with that with a small team of 3 people.
Right. Rasmus, let me change gears for a second, because one of the things I'm wrestling right now with is junior associates, junior people, right? What's your thought? On one hand, they are the ones that do the bulk of the tedium, right? And they learn the business from the ground up. Now AI can do the tedium, right? So I'm really struggling with, how do we take the next generation of young people and teach them the business without that initial introductory? Have you thought about that? Has that occurred to you, or have you dealt with that?
I'm dealing with it because I'm a father of a 20-year-old and a 23-year-old, and one is currently studying engineering and all of that. So I'm obviously concerned what that will do. However, I'm also one who famously said I never needed a mobile phone, and then my first job was at Nokia when they were selling 250 million phones a year. And I did learn how to use a mobile phone. So I think that what's going to happen is that you'll get a generation who just naturally has the ability to use these models much faster than we are. The interesting thing for me is this intersect we're in now, where we sit with all the knowledge that we've accumulated from working 30 years and trying out and things that went wrong and other things that went wrong. And we're putting that into the agentic solutions as we speak. The next generation will be agentically native. And true to form, I have a boy and a girl, and my boy is obviously super interested in that, mostly because then it's easier to do his homework. But I can also see that he still has the sense that this is wrong, or he tests out what he's done. And he's like any other late teenager, so it's not about putting in boatloads of work to make it work, but he does have the critical sense. And I'm still thinking their way of working will be so much different and so much faster than what we've been used to. Right now, we're taking all of our knowledge, putting it into an agent, and that helps us resolve. They start from a simple prompt, like 2 lines, 4 lines, discuss it, continue to hone it. And I think the key skill that the next generation will have is not to have certainty of outcome when they start, but allow the iterations that it takes to get to a better point. And then I think with AI skills underneath it, that will be a super powerful combination.
That's a really great point, and something I struggled with initially when I first in the last 3 weeks, we've installed OpenClaw with the agents.
Yeah.
And it was done by my son, who does our technology. And we defaulted, when I had a question, I would call my son. He works out of Boston. And he would answer my question. And then he started saying, ask Malcolm.
Yeah.
That's my agent. Ask Malcolm. Oh, okay, to answer my questions. And then he started to tell me, ask Malcolm what more you should be doing.
Yeah.
And that was that intergenerational thing that I needed somebody younger to tell me. It's like, let the machine come up with some ideas. Let it use its rationalization abilities to come up with solutions instead of me scripting it, right?
Yeah.
And that was very powerful. But that's an optimistic note, which we'll end on. I don't think we said the name of the book.
It's called the Human Success Playbook, so no surprises there.
And where can they get it?
It's on Amazon.
Okay, and it's your website
Is sensei.com.
Well, I got to tell you, it's always fascinating. So glad we reconnected, because this was the best podcast of the day.
I love this.
And I love talking to you about bigger, broader things than just what we do for a living. So I appreciate it.
We're both human beings, and that's, I think, what connects all of us.
Yeah.
And we struggle with the same problems in different variations.
So next year we'll get back together, and maybe it'll be just avatars, virtualized, talking to one another.
Maybe maybe that's what we try. That's the task for next time. We have our own avatars that can do the interview.
All right. It's great talking to you again.
Great
Thanks.
talking to you.
This podcast is a production of Gregory. If you enjoyed our discussion today and want to continue exploring the transformative power of AI, please check out more episodes and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.